People have a big fear of dying. When I'm climbing Denali solo in the winter, in order to do it safely, I can't be worried about dying all the time. I have to be okay with that fact.
Hey, I'm Lynsey Dyer, and this is Tent Talk. Today, we'll sit down with Lonnie Dupre, a contemporary polar explorer, to find out everything he's learned over his 25 years of exploration. Well, I just want to make sure we establish from the beginning some of your greatest accomplishments. Give me the list.
Wow, that's a tough one because we've had a lot of projects over the years. Yeah, we had a 6,500 mile non-motorized circumnavigation of Greenland, half of it by kayak and the other half by dog team. The 2 North Pole trips we did were both winter and summer, and then did some climbing in the Himalayas, which was wonderful. But I think the most dangerous and most difficult was a solo winter ascent of Denali in January, which is have never been accomplished before, and probably for a good reason. There was a lot of bad weather on that mountain, and went up to 11,000 feet and a big storm came in. I started looking at what I had for supplies. I thought I had more than I did, so in the end I only had 1.5 days of food and 3 days of fuel. And I ended up getting stuck in that tent for 5 days. So I made 1.5 days of food go 5 days. And I could just melt barely enough water to stay hydrated. So I knew that within 36 hours, if the weather didn't clear, I would expire.
Is that really living when it's that dire?
No, the living is where you get to the edge of the crevice and you sit down on your backpack and you observe your surroundings, seeing how the light is when the temperature is 50 below, because it's different. It's more lavenders and pinks and things like that. That
most people don't
is
see that.
Something that people don't see or get a chance to see. Your senses of sight and hearing and smell get fine-tuned, and so it's kind of like it's like a form of enlightenment being out there for that long, because it pulls you away from all the trappings of society. It really, you shed those trappings, you shed that civilization, you turn into kind of an animal, and you really get in tune with your surroundings. You smell the air, you can understand the weather systems, you can, you know which direction you need to go based on the sastrugi that is created by wind and the snow. Things like that.
And you become part of the food chain versus at the top.
Yeah, and you, yeah, if you're out on the Arctic Ocean, you're definitely part of the food chain of the polar bear, for sure.
Right, I know you've had some polar bear incidents. Tell me some stories.
We had 5 polar bear attacks while we were trying to get to the North Pole. And Eric Larson, a friend of mine, and I were camping in our tent on a floe edge. And what happened is a polar bear got up on its hind legs while we were sleeping. It came down with its 2 big paws on our tent. We sent up a flare, scared the bear away, but needless to say, we never slept any more that night. When shit goes wrong, then now it's an expedition. Now it's an adventure, because it's something you hadn't planned.
What are the things, though, that you do miss with 22 months in a tent?
Extreme cold up high on a mountain or on the Arctic Ocean, there's no smell. So I bring a little piece of evergreen tree with me because it reminds me of the forest and the woods.
That's home.
Yeah, that's home. That's home for me.
So it sounds like you've also found a good work-life balance.
Yeah, by living a little bit simply, I'm able to take 6 months off a year. So I work really hard during the summer months, construction, and then I'm off on expeditions the other 6 months. I call going on an expedition clearing bugs off the windshield of life. Every time I go on an expedition, it feels like my soul has been run through a filter.
If you could put your message that you would like people to take away from watching everything that you've done, what is it?
Have amazing experiences with people that you love. That's what I learned traveling solo, is that it's about having experiences you can share with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago when we circumnavigated Greenland, we had an educational component to the expedition, which was linked in with 300 schools in the U.S. Anytime I go into a school to give a presentation and talk to the fourth graders, you can see their eyes just light up when you talk about polar bears, or it just gives me the like, okay, this is the reason, this is the purpose.
When you were a little boy, did you imagine this life for yourself? Did you always want to be an explorer like this?
Well, when I was a little boy, I thought I'd be living in the Rockies in a little log cabin with a big long beard all by myself.
Not too far off.
Not too far off, no.
If you could go back and talk to yourself as a 10-year-old boy, what would you tell him?
I would say, don't think there's a lot of things you're not qualified for or you can't do for any. Put those fears aside and just go for it. Don't be afraid to pursue your dream. That's what I would say.